Bitcoin is in this uptrend on the daily time frame and we are about to see a massive move soon. We could potentially break above this resistance area or we could see a big rejection, and in this video I'm going to tell you what is going to be happening next for Bitcoin in the coming days. There's a lot of interesting data coming into the market for the Bitcoin and the Ethereum ETFs, and there's also a lot of interesting news popping up, so this is interesting to see and you don't want to miss this. I will also have a look at the two altcoins, Dogecoin and the Binance coin, but about that later in the video. So watch this video all the way to the end, like the video, and let's dive right into the charts. In my video of yesterday I've been talking about this ascending triangle for Bitcoin on the 1 hour time frame, and we can see on the top side multiple touch points as resistance and on the lower side multiple touch points as support. And yesterday we were back at this huge support area and we saw a big bounce to the top side, so this is looking very bullish. And now we are coming back to this resistance area and we can see resistance is coming into the market, and now we are seeing a little bit of a decline from this level. So we could potentially come back to the support area, and from there we can maybe see a bounce or we can break through the support and see for lower targets. But of course we want to see a bounce, or even that we're not going back to this support and that we're going to back to the resistance again, force a break to the top side and then see exponential moves to the top side. But this 1 hour formation is a very interesting formation to look at today. And yesterday we saw a big pump for Bitcoin, and that was also caused by a lot of inflows in the Bitcoin ETF, and we saw that BlackRock was finally buying like crazy again. We saw almost a 99 million of inflows for BlackRock, and this is very beautiful to see, of course. And in total we saw 136 million of inflows into the Bitcoin ETF, so this was very bullish. And now we can see that we are going to see more spikes to the top side, just like we saw 3 times earlier in the history of the Bitcoin ETF. So let's see if we can make a new all-time high, because we are close to that previous high of $18 billion. And of course I want to get to this $20 billion mark very soon, and that will of course prompt up the price for Bitcoin is very hard. And the Ethereum ETF saw one of its best days ever, and we saw a $62.5 million of inflow, so this is very bullish. And we can see that BlackRock is finally buying like crazy into the Ethereum ETF, and this is exactly what we want to see. So let's see if we can continue this bullish trend for Ethereum, because it will also pump up the price for Ethereum on the charts. And if we then zoom out on the daily time frame for Bitcoin, we can see this is the most interesting formation to look at currently, because we can see this lower high structure on the daily chart, and now we're coming back to this previous high, and now Bitcoin needs to gain this previous high in order to see a huge trend reversal on the daily time frame. But of course we could also potentially see a rejection from this level, and this will be this bearish scenario that will play out. And if we're coming back to this big support, then we will maybe see levels around the $60,000 again, but that's of course not what we want to see. We want to see a gain of this level, a gain of this previous high, and then come back to this resistance area to turn it into support and aim for higher targets. And this will be a very bullish scenario for Bitcoin if this plays out. So this is the make or break point for Bitcoin in this coming week. So let's see what Bitcoin can do for us and if we're going to break this level. So let me know what you think of this make or break point for Bitcoin. Are we going to see a bullish break to the top side, or are we going to see a big rejection from this level? And as I'm always watching this chart with horizontal levels as support and resistance, we are currently back at the $64,000 resistance, and it is looking very bullish actually. But of course this resistance is also a little bit strong for now, so let's see if Bitcoin can break to the top side. And if we're going to see a bullish break to the top side, then the $68,000 will be next for Bitcoin. But if we're going to see a big rejection from this level, then we can go all the way back to the $60,500, and that is the bearish scenario. But the $60,500 isn't being tested yet, so we could potentially go back to this level, retest it as support, and then we can maybe see another healthy uptrend again. But for now, of course, we want to see a bullish break to the top side, and that we're going back to the $68,000, and that will be very bullish, of course. So this horizontal resistance area is a little bit too strong for now, so let's see if we can maybe break it today. And yesterday there was also a lot of interesting news going into the market, and the Bitwise CIO, Bitwise is one of the Bitcoin ETF issuers, says that the most powerful people in finance are owning crypto, and they are buying through the Bitcoin ETF, so they know what kind of people are buying into the ETFs, and this is very beautiful to see, of course. And also yesterday the SEC Commissioner Hester Peirce says they're allowing regulated financial institutions to bypass SEC rule, which will allow them to custody Bitcoin and crypto. And this is very bullish because a lot of regulated financial institutions can now offer Bitcoin to a lot of people, and they can now own Bitcoin. So this is very bullish for the crypto market overall. And as I was telling you about yesterday, this is also a very interesting chart to look at Bitcoin for the daily time frame. We can see this falling wedge had multiple touch points on the top side as resistance and a lot of touch points on the lower side as support. And when we were bouncing from this lower side support, I was telling you that I was buying into the market. And from this lower side support, we saw already a big bounce to the top side. So this is looking very bullish. And of course, we also broke this beautiful trendline resistance to the top side. But this trendline resistance hasn't been tested as support yet. So we could potentially also come back to this level, retest it as support. And from here, you want to enter the market in a long or just spot buy. And then you can aim for higher targets. But the breakout target of this falling wedge is confluent with the top side of this falling wedge, and that will be around the $69,000. So we're still not at this breakout target, but of course keep in mind that we could potentially also come back to this resistance area and retest it as support. But if we're going to see a big dump later this week or maybe today, these are the times you want to be buy into the market for Bitcoin. Because at this retest, it's a very interesting place to buy more Bitcoin for the longer term. And that is exactly what I'm going to do. And the Fear and Greed Index is back in greed because we saw a big bump for Bitcoin. And last week we saw levels of fear and now we're seeing levels of greed again. And of course it is not very high because we're at 59 and I want to see those levels around the 80 or maybe the 90 again. And that means that we're going to see new all-time highs for Bitcoin. But for now we are back in greed and this is looking a little bit more bullish of course. Because when greed is in the market, everyone wants to buy more Bitcoin. And when we're at stages of fear, everyone is running away. But those are actually the times when you want to be bullish on Bitcoin. The first interesting altcoin I want to talk about with you is Dogecoin. I've been discussing Doge in my latest videos with you. And we can see this huge falling wedge was unfolding with multiple touch points on the top side as resistance. And also on the lower side, we saw a lot of touch points as support. And also this horizontal support was coming into play. And every time Doge came to this support level, we saw a nice bounce to the top side, just like we saw last week. And now we also broke out of this huge falling wedge formation and Doge is breaking this huge resistance area to the top side. But for now, we can maybe expect a big drop to the downside again and retest this previous resistance as support. And from there we can aim for higher targets. And if you want to enter the market for Doge, you can buy into the market at this huge bullish retest if we're going to see this. So placing your orders at this retest is not a bad thing to do in my opinion for the long term. And this breakout target of this falling wedge formation is confluent with the top side and that will be around the 20 cents. So from this point, this could potentially be a 2x from here. And I think Dogecoin will see exponential moves very soon because we now broke out of this falling wedge formation. And I think we will have to aim for higher targets. And of course, there are also a lot of interesting horizontal resistance level coming into play. But for that, we also have to be a little bit patient because we just broke out. And we're going to see a bullish retest potentially first for Dogecoin of this falling wedge formation. And the second interesting altcoin I want to have a look at is BNB. So the Binance coin. We saw a huge falling wedge unfolding for BNB a couple of weeks ago. And it was breaking out to the top side. And as we can see, we made a bullish retest of this previous trendline resistance and turned it into support. And from this level, we saw a big bounce to the top side. Then we also saw this huge horizontal resistance and support coming into play. And currently, we are back at this big resistance on the top side. So this will be the first big level to break for BNB. And if BNB is going to break it to the top side, I believe we will see a retest of this level and then we can aim for higher targets. So if BNB is going to break this level to the top side, this bullish retest will be a very interesting place to buy more BNB for the long term. But of course, we can also see the bearish scenario play out and that we're going to see a rejection from this level. And then we have to aim for lower targets. And then we can come back to this huge horizontal support again. And if you want to buy more BNB into the market for the long term, this would also be a very interesting place to place your orders. And from here, you can enter the market and aim for higher prices. But for now, BNB is looking very bullish after this beautiful pump to the top side. But we are seeing a lot of green days, and green days are mostly followed by red days. So be careful here at this big resistance and never buy at resistance. You always want to buy at support. So either you want to buy at this lower side support, or you want to buy into the market after this bullish break, and then you have to wait for a bullish retest to turn this resistance into support, and then you can aim for higher targets. So please give a like if you find this video useful, follow me on my other socials, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.